Two will enter. One will win. Welcome to the fight. Welcome to the knockout.
Welcome everyone to round 2 of the knockout. Round 1 was a lot of fun. We went from our 24 guests and now we're down to 12. So sooner or later we'll have the champion of who is the baddest of the baddest of the bad. It's been a day, it's been a week, and I'm glad it's my weekend here finally. So unfortunately Southern Comic Geek has business meetings, his job, his day job that he can't get out of and all that. So I had volunteered to argue for him. So I will be taking up the role of Magneto. And arguing against Magneto is Titan Comic Pressing with Loki. Welcome, Titan. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Well, like I said, it's been a week. And I said, it's been and then next week promises to be both boring and busy at the same time. So it's just one of those things.
The worst kind of week.
Yeah, baddest of the bass. Yeah, that fish. That fish takes out a lot of other. Don't mess with that fish. What can I say? I don't have a lisp. I just have a loose mind, apparently. So, like I said, I'm taking over for Southern here. I will be arguing Magneto. I have in favor of Titan here. I have not prepped at all, so I am flying completely.
Yay!
My pants here.
Hooray for me!
So plus Titans also is, I believe, and they said covering for somebody I needed because just need to reach out. So apparently this is the just a substitute episode, but it's hell of a start around 2, right? So, but
the show must go on.
Show must go on. Yes, check out the link down below, and be sure to vote. Who's gonna go for fourth? Magneto or Loki? So I talked to you in the background. You said I could go first. I gave you the option. So unless you have any other questions, we will get the show started.
Nope. I think I'm all ready to go.
All right. Let's see if I can pull something out of the seat of my pants here. All right. Well, I believe that Magneto obviously wins this fight because frankly, his powers are more impressive. I mean, after all, metal literally exists in every world and everything. Even it doesn't matter if it's earth metal or Asgardian, whatever the material is Asgardian is. Can't forget what Thanos' sword is made out of, but it's still metal. So, Guru, thank you. The laws of electromagnetism and all that would apply, and Magneto can just, take Loki's horned helmet and either crush his head with it or shove that horn where it won't feel very nice. So I think, and between that, and we all know that Magneto is leader of his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So Magneto's not going to show up here alone. If he views Loki and the Asgardian army as a big enough threat, he's going to show up with every single mutant that he possibly can, because you don't mess with Magneto unless you really want to die. So I will leave it there and dive into the rest of my argument here when the show begins fully. So take it away, Titan, with your opening statement for Loki.
All right. Well, first of all, I guess we got to set some ground rules. So is this Magneto versus Loki, or Magneto and whoever mutants he knows versus Loki?
Well, it is the season of the villains, and the villains have no rules. They can bring their minions into the fight if they can. So,
all right. So, I mean, all of Asgard, I guess, I think would pretty well at least neutralize whatever mutants. I mean, Asgard is an entire civilization, and Loki, I mean, he's not always bad. He's on the side of good, and same with Magneto, he's been on good and bad. So if he can bring whoever, then Loki can bring whoever. So you're also having to deal with Thor and Heimdall and Odin and all of them. They are gods. So I mean, we can get deeper into the argument as we go on, but as far as opening statement, like I don't know what you do. Like given Magneto's power set is very impressive. Control of magnetism, he could do all sorts of stuff. How do you kill Loki? Because he really can't be killed. Balder chopped off his head and he put it back on. So you can throw some metal around. What are you gonna do with it? Like, he survives decapitation. So I'm very interested to see what, even just to kill him at all, what Magneto has in his tool set that can do that. As impressive as Magneto is, Omega level mutant, I get it, but God. So there's my opening statement. I mean, if you want to go from there, I'm sure I have a counter to it.
Well, it makes more sense for us to face this way. Well, first off, Odin said so himself that we're not truly gods. We live, we die, same as everyone else. And
sure, they're nearly immortal.
A couple thousand years, give or take. That just means that they just are, live longer.
They age very slowly. Yes.
Yeah. But also, do we really know that in the comic book, or where that is, that he actually had his head cut off? Because after all, this is the master. This is the Master of Chaos, mischief, magic, and all that. Are you sure it wasn't just a fancy trick and then just to freak someone out?
He had his head cut off. He has made a deal with Hela that had his name stricken from like the Book of the Dead. So even if he ever dies, it's not recorded and he comes back.
Well, luckily in a fight and all that too, if I can succeed in crushing you, I just do it time and time again. After all, right now I can't die either. On Krakoa, mutants can be brought or can still be brought back, depending on what time of frame it is and all that. So just rehatch Magneto in an egg, so you got two immortal beings in a sense.
Well, you got to get him there.
Well, again, there. Well, his memories are saved and all that. You don't have to technically get him there. Once he cuts, croaks, you restart the clock. Oh, Magneto passed away. Time to rehatch him. So
sure.
And like I said,
so if we want to neutralize the rebirths,
okay,
right? That's fine. When Loki had his head cut off, that wasn't a rebirth. That was in his powers. He just picked his head up and put it back on, and good to go. If you want to go like the long fight, the more Magneto uses his powers, it drains him. It exhausts him. Loki does not have that problem. He does not have to necessarily sleep or rest because he is of a higher being. The Asgardians are, again, depending how you view it, if you may not say that they're gods, but they are direct descendants of the elder gods. So they are not just like aliens or whatever. They are a higher being. So if it's just a war of attrition, if the battle goes on and on and on, Magneto gets exhausted till he can't use his powers anymore. That is not an issue for Loki.
Well, he can still I wish I had something to drink. He can still slow him down, after all, he can put him on, like I said, manipulate metal. Loki still has to move, right? He can't just make things happen because he can picture it in his head like a Green Lantern ring. He literally has to do movements, right? correct?
That is untrue. That is untrue. Loki doesn't even have to be there. He can project his magic onto Earth, Midgard, while on Asgard.
Mhm.
He could, out of the realm of Magneto's powers, he can cast illusions, he can cast spells, he can do his power set without even being present.
Well, being that might be true in a sense, but like I said, he can still. Magneto is not anybody's fool. This is somebody who, just like Loki, thinks of himself as superior to everyone else. And after all, mutants are the next stage of evolution. There was a term Homo superior that was used in the X-Men movies. That between who he knows and his mind, because he's a very, this Magneto's not, he's an Omega level mutant, but he's almost as smart as Charles. He doesn't have the psychic powers, but he has the strategic mind. So Loki might be more creative, but in a certain level of there's a certain level of insanity to that creative that you can slip up a little bit. You need something who can be a little more tactician and focused. Someone who's a little too, what's the term I'm looking for? Because I want to say loose is not the term I'm looking for, but chaotic and unpredictable. That can be the wild card, and that could be a wild card that can win you something in the surprise attack. But just as much as it succeeds, it can also be your downfall. You need to have a more strategic and controlled, cold-hearted mindset, and that is Magneto. He can.
I don't. So you want to out trick the trickster god?
Not out trick, out plan. Yeah.
I think part of why Loki is such a good trickster is because he can plan so far ahead. Like, he's not just about the in the moment manipulation and tricks. Loki knows the long game. He plays the long game when necessary. I don't think you can out mentally maneuver.
Against Thor and
What?
other jarheads of Asgard. Not against somebody who is,
No,
who's been fighting.
not just Thor. Like, he's pulled off illusions and tricks on entire cities at once. He's pulled it on all of Asgard. Like, it's not just meathead Thor. Like, he's not the trickster of Thor. He's the trickster god. He's the trickster of all tricksters. He has all the foresight. He can mentally outmaneuver anyone when it comes to planning, that sort of thing. I will give you that Magneto is very, very intelligent. He is very smart. He is a very good tactician. He led both the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. He's very good at that. But when it comes to being sly and tricky, you can't beat the god. You can't be the god of that.
I don't know.
I don't think his metal powers help him as much as you may think. So how is Magneto dealing the death blow? How is he killing Loki?
Well, from a distance, obviously.
But I mean, but with a gun? With what? Like, what is he killing him with?
Well, he can have every piece of metal in the from miles around him. And have you seen? It's like it's like a cannon. It's like a shrapnel or like a buckshot in a shotgun. All of a sudden, you have a million different shards of metal flying in one direction. You can't dodge that if you're anywhere. Unless if he's physically there, you have literally so much stuff coming at you, and he can continue pumping that. Yeah, he might not be able to last as long as Loki, but all he has to do is last longer than the strength of the spell. Even things have to wear down. Nothing is invincible. Nothing lasts forever. Even a god will get tired. There's no way, you cannot physically keep up.
Okay. So I got two things for you. One, first, because you brought it up, Loki does have the ability to create energy shields. You're proposing that Magneto takes all this metal from miles around, huge amount of exertion on Magneto, while he's doing this against Loki's shield, which do you think lasts longer?
Well,
The
we're not.
the the pulling, I don't know, tons and tons of metal and flinging them, which would probably just exhaust him immediately, against Loki's shield, which only has to hit, you're calling it like buckshot, so it's not all going directly at him, it's going all around. So he's deflecting what, a handful of those things that Magneto just threw?
It's X-Men Apocalypse. Yeah, he can either create a blanket wall where he, where here's Loki on D2 of the battleship board, and Magneto is put in one shot in pretty much every single spot, or like the X-Men Apocalypse movie where he can focus it, because if he physically is there, because Loki is not Quicksilver, he's not Flash, he's not, unless he has a million different projections in which has to concentrate himself too. I'm imagine that he has to concentrate to maintain illusions. Then Magneto can focus on one single target, because after all, he's controlling this. It's not like he can, okay, I'm general facility, right? Hopefully it hits you. It's okay, pinpoint. It's a heat-seeking missile, and he can actually aim it more directly at him. And we're not dealing with metal, every single piece the size of a car. We're dealing with a piece like the size of my Bluetooth case here.
Yeah, but if you're doing a bunch of those, it all adds up to tons and tons of metal. And especially if you're talking about a wall, like metal's not light.
Yeah, well, we also don't know, or I can't imagine, but since it's his ability, I would imagine it's almost like he is a magnet himself. It doesn't take, I have two powerful magnets and I flip them and all that, how it's hard to force them together. It might just be he reverses his polarity and everything goes away from him, and he doesn't have to put much exertion behind it. I'm not sure.
No, that's not how Magneto works.
I'm just saying.
It is. He is not himself magnetic.
Yeah.
It's telekinesis with things that are metal. He projects magnetic fields. So he exerts himself to project magnetic fields, which do the flinging of the stuff. Yeah. So when he uses any of his power, it's exerting him. And if he uses it too much or in a great amount, he's passed out.
Well, yeah. Well, he might, like I said, don't know exactly, because taking again two movies for example, the young Magneto, like I said, he's throwing all this stuff here, and yeah, he took a breath, or or gathered more stuff up, but it didn't seem like it wasn't any sort of, it was a simple matter of concentration. It wasn't really, wasn't like you weren't seeing beads of sweat around him, versus the original X-Men Last Stand. Yeah, it was an exertion, but he would lift the entire Golden Gate Bridge and moved it across a huge bay. Now, if you talk, and even if we're talking about that Magneto versus Loki, that's still a lot of metal, so many tons and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tons, or thousands of tons, that I'd be willing to bet the equivalent of this, is a hell of a lot more metal flying at you in one spot than one bridge.
I'm not arguing that Magneto can very impressively move a large amount of metal at once. I understand. So that metal hits Loki in what way?
I'm not sure exactly. Like I said, piercing. If it forces it through him, like like a coin through the forehead, or or something like that, or just blunt force trauma. I mean, or after all, like I said, if Loki's wearing his metal, we don't even know what his shield actually prevents and all that. It might prevent an actual force through it, but you cannot say that Loki's shield would prevent Magneto from, manipulating the metal on Loki himself. He can throw all sorts of stuff at him, prove he's there, and then with his other hand crush his head with his horned helmet.
There's no way that Loki shows up to a fight with Magneto wearing any metal. He is a master strategist. He is not going to. He is not going to bring the helmet. He, if anything, he makes another one made out of a hard plastic. And he would not bring his sword or whatever. His the shield that he would use is a force shield. It's magic. There's not metal involved with that. There's no way he would show up with any metal to a fight with a Master of Magnetism. He is genius level. He's not that stupid.
Well, if we're doing the scenario then that we both know about each other and we're seeking each other out. If this is a sudden, this person here, I don't like him. He's threatening my plans. Then Loki's not gonna I better not wear any metal and I better have a plastic button on my jeans because just in case I deal with somebody who can manipulate metal, gotta be prepared.
Well, so first of all, so if it's not planned ahead and he bumps into Magneto and they bump into each other on the street and like, hey, screw you, and then fight. Mm-hmm. So first of all, Loki, I mean, he can like change his getup at will. So he's not wearing jeans, first of all. Like, you can look at the image in the background of this thing. It is like a cloak of some sort.
Well, I was just using
he snaps the helmet away. All the metal is no longer a problem.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're doing the scenario of that. Now, we're on the other scenario that, okay, they know about each other. Like I said, I'm not going to just, as Magneto, I'm going to realize, okay, this is a god, thousands of years, mischief of magic. After all, these two exist in the same world. They know about they most likely know about each other. Loki's tried to take over the Earth a few times. So he can if I'm going to take out Loki, I'm not just going to show up to a fight. Like I said, you have to out-trick the trickster or outthink the trickster. So I'm going to show up with some people like, maybe Wanda, myself with some magic, or, someone like, Nightcrawler to teleport, see if you can teleport just past his shield or into him, or just other things. I'm going to have the Juggernaut show up and take some running shots at Loki to try and distract him too. I'm not going to show up alone. I'm going to show up with the entire mutant kind because mutants are superior to Asgardians. We are.
Mutants are not superior to Asgardians.
Well,
I thought so. My understanding was we neutralized all the other, because if we did have all these little mutants and then all of Asgard would win. Like, I don't think there's barely even an argument there. Like, I understand like mutants have a diversity of powers and whatnot. But you're dealing with an entire civilization of near immortals with thousands and thousands of years of battle experience against those that are 20, 30 years old and don't have that. Like, and they have magic and all this other stuff. So, I mean, if you want to bring in, you can bring other people, that's fine, but I think you lose immediately.
No, I'm not saying so. And also, you might be physically more powerful in a sense, like I said, a warrior race, but they don't have anyone to meet. As far as I'm aware, does any Asgardians have the capacity to counter someone like Xavier or Legion or that with a psychic ability? Because one little thought, and as doesn't matter how powerful these Asgardians are, they're not moving. They're frozen like Charles usually does, or mentally kills. If we're bringing, say we are truly bringing them pieces like that, you get one thought from Xavier, and Loki's frozen, and the Asgardians around him are frozen, and then, like I said, sitting target, shield's not up. Whatever.
So now the argument is Charles Xavier versus the Asgardians.
Maggie's
not even in it.
I'm just arguing the fact that he can you're talking about your Asgardians are going to crush mutants every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Well, I'm asking what's the Asgardians in this hypothetical scenario? What's their counter to psychic ability of Charles, the world's most powerful mutant who can kill people with what?
I don't know about all Asgardians, but I know Loki can resist telepathic influence. So if Charles Xavier is the key to that argument, Loki easily handles Charles Xavier, and then it's no longer a problem.
Well, you say I don't know if how capable he would be then, because you say he can resist, which means he does have to concentrate, because it's not just be simple. Because if they attack at once, one physical and one mental, you got the two, arguably the two most powerful mutants in existence. Anyway, like I said, where you can.
So that's why Loki goes for Charles first. He can teleport. Like, he doesn't have to worry about the physical. He teleports to where Charles is. He kills Charles, and then it's no longer a problem.
Well, like I said, he's not going to show up alone. Charles can, anyway. But yeah, so that's basically what I think. I just think that
so my first counter to your throwing a bunch of metal at Loki is he shields himself with magic. Magneto exerts himself. My second argument is, where is Magneto aiming all of this metal at?
Well, he learned from Thor. He's going for the head.
Okay, he's going for Loki's head. Guess what? Loki's not actually there.
Well, like I said, just
he's behind Magneto and just blasts him in the back. While Magneto is focused on what he thinks is Loki, it is not Loki. He exerts all the metal he can get around him, throw it at this Loki. It ends up being an illusion. It's not actually there. Loki is right behind him and just takes him out. Because when it comes to it, Magneto is very powerful, but physically, he can't take much of a hit. His outfit, his armor is very well enforced, but Loki is a frost giant, and he has the strength and endurance, the physical strength and endurance of a frost giant. So he wouldn't even need magic. He just appears behind him and just punches him in the spine, and Magneto's done.
Well, I know I didn't read the actual books, but I know that there was some X of Red or whatever, when during the whole what was it? Some sort was it Axe or something like that? But I forget how Magneto was hurt, because technically speaking, I think Magneto's currently dead right now, in a sense, in the comics, but he was using his powers to manipulate the iron in his blood to keep his blood flowing, and so until the fight was over, he kept himself going. So you can crush his spine and all that, but he can keep the blood flowing, keep his heart pumping to still concentrate, because then Loki does close in and starts to crush him, then he's physically there, and then he can use his call metal to him and trap Loki in a metal ball, or use the whole thing and crush his head in that way, because he's too busy going like, I got you, I crushed your spine, his guard's down. He can, and then that leaves one final attack from Magneto.
So, crush his spine, crunch his head, whatever the case may be. I don't care how much blood you got flowing through you. If your head is completely crushed, there's no brain to be exerting any magnetic powers.
Well, don't know. I don't think. Like I said, I'm not fully in. I'm arguing from a slight disadvantage. I don't fully understand Magneto's powers 100%, but I do think that Loki is a little bit over exaggerated in his abilities myself, honestly, because
I didn't write him. that's what he can do. That's the character that is up for debate, and that's his power set.
Because if Thor can constantly best Loki, then I don't think Loki has that much going for him. And I'm just saying.
And like I said at the beginning, I'm not huge on Asgardians. I haven't read a whole lot of Thor and their fights together. It seems that most of the fights that go between them aren't won in a physical manner. Loki is more just kind of like convinced or deterred to go do something else. So I don't know who wins between Thor and Loki in just an all out brawl. It would be tough, but when it comes down to it, I mean, Homo superior for their superiority have, unless it's part of their mutant power, have the same vulnerabilities as humans. You take away and underneath everything, Magneto is as human as everybody else, can die to the same sort of things. Maybe he can keep his blood pumping a little bit more because of the iron in it. But you crush his head, you crush his spine, and he's paralyzed just like any other human. Whereas Loki is physically stronger than even most Asgardians because he is actually a frost giant. Like giants, right? Frost giants. The strength of a frost giant is packed into Loki.
Well, he's not.
He's not just magician trickster. He is physically very, very talented.
But being the run to the frost giant species doesn't mean that his strength is increased just because he's in a smaller size. It's not amplified. His strength is still the same. He comes in fun size versus regular size. So
of a frost giant, yes. Fine. Which is still vastly more than a human.
Well, like I said, I do think, like I said, he still has to physically show up, or he's going to physically show up here eventually too. He can,
but he doesn't.
No, I'd argue gets at that. He's, something like that.
I did my homework. I did do some homework. I read about it. He can do his stuff from Asgard.
Well, I do think that if he's going to show up and take on Magneto, that he needs to, if he's going to, Magneto can hold him off at the very least. Like I said, if he shows up, he's going to send, the X-Men are now on their way to, what am I saying? Apocalypse, Asgard, via one of their gates and show up there. So if Magneto truly feels Loki is a threat, he's going to call in the X-Men, the Brotherhood, because right now it's Mutant Nation versus Asgard, and there's a lot more people on Krakoa than there is on Asgard.
So I still we'll go with this. We'll go with this. I still think if the game is Loki versus Magneto, it's Loki versus Magneto. But if you want to bring in others, okay, you bring X-Men. Magneto brings X-Men. Loki brings Asgardians.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the Frost Giants and many other races of the 9 realms. It'd be very, very easy for Loki to manipulate all of these other races in some way to saying, hey, you have to come this, like they're attacking the crown jewel of the 9 realms. Midgard is coming for us. You're next. So we have to beat them at the pass. So if you want it Midgard versus the rest of the 8 realms,
I'm just using the whole thing in the scenario as because the season of the villains, he's gonna have his minions or his other mutant friends. If Magneto truly feels Loki is that much of a threat, he's gonna do something with other people. Because unless he goes, oh, I got Loki, because after all, his brother can kick his ass and trap him in a tree and all that stuff. Let's, I shouldn't have anything to worry about.
And I think in most of those cases, Thor had like outside help from other Asgardians and magic.
You're saying outside help and Loki loses? Okay, I guess I win.
Nope. Nope. Because if you are allowing outside help, then Loki gets outside help too. It can't just be Magneto mutants versus Loki. Loki gets to do the same. Asgardians, Frost Giants, Dark Elves, all of them.
does Loki how often does Loki though bring in other people? I said because of the season, it's a rule that can be broken. You're not fighting solo technically. You don't have to fight solo. I have seen and read that Magneto doesn't just fight solo. It's not him against the world. It's him and his allies versus at times he will have people with him. A lot of times I don't think I see, unless Loki is like mind controlling or things like that, or the one times it was at War of the Realms. But other than that one series, I don't ever remember Loki doing anything but solo act. So it doesn't seem like Loki's going to have people with
But you
him.
don't think that he can?
Not that he can. I just don't think that he's just
you're the villain. He can. If he needs it, he will.
Well, it also has to be portrayable to the character. Like I said, I argue that
portrayable to the character. So you don't if Loki needed to, in order to take on this wave of mutants, wouldn't manipulate a bunch of other races into helping him. Like that is his thing. He manipulates other people for his own benefit.
Manipulate, but they don't willingly. Then they don't willingly show up. Then it's not like it's
willingly. They've been manipulated to show up.
But if they've manipulated, then they can also be freed or convinced otherwise. Because this isn't a war movie where once more into the fray, and then everyone's all in one mind. Yeah, this is manipulated.
But it's Loki is such a master manipulator. Like I said, I'm not even Loki, right? And I was able to come up with the idea of saying, like, look, this is not me. This is not my magic. Magneto and a crap ton of mutants are coming to Asgard. Who do you think is next? I don't know why they're doing this, but they're coming for all of the 9 realms. If we all gather right now to fight, even though he knows that that's not what they're doing, he can convince them that that is the case and we all got to get together now. We got to squash them before they start taking us all over. That is super in character for Loki.
And then Loki's army gets blasted by every psychic mutant that shows up with one message: we're only after this guy. Go home or just leave us alone, and we're only touching him.
Then okay. Okay. So that's the rule. So you bring army versus army. You only have to kill the general, right? Is that what you're saying?
In this scenario, if they're manipulated, after all, it's going like, we have nothing against you. Feel our emotions, feel our sincerity. We're going after this guy. You're right.
So if that's the rule, like it doesn't matter why the army's there. If it's army versus army, you only have to take out the general. So you bring your army, Magneto brings his army, Loki brings his army. As long as I can kill Magneto and Magneto alone, then Loki wins. Is that that's what you're saying? Because you're saying if you can kill Loki and it wins.
Yeah, arguably,
I'm just trying to understand the rules.
Well, I'm just saying that Magneto would they would focus on. We're only fighting Loki. We're only going against Loki. Whether or not they're trying to kill him is another question. But versus in this fight scenario, you kill Magneto, then Loki wins, because that's the whole. We're not talking X-Men versus Asgardians in general. Right. We're talking about. But like I said, I feel that, like I said, between Magneto's powers, because I don't think Magneto is going. Loki's. I think that Loki's going to be the one who ideally starts things, because it's Loki's nature. Magneto is more his goals and more. What's that term I'm looking for? Not strategic, more thinking things through. He's not. More subtle. There he goes. More subtle than Loki.
More deliberate.
Yeah, more deliberate and more subtle. So Loki's most likely going to show up to Asgard to make himself or show up, starting things on Earth, and Magneto then this guy's in the way, and so then he will seek out Loki, and then because it's him going after Loki and not Loki going after him, he gets who ideally will strike the first blow. And like I said, these two characters know each other in the same world, same universe, that he might try and launch something quick and fast to take out Loki, a bullet sniper thing, because I said, or barrage or whatever, and just try and take him out from behind like you did with Magneto's spine, theoretically. because he could teleport or whatnot, that Magneto is going to seek out Loki first, realizing the threat because of Loki's nature. It's not like he's going to show up and going, all right, we're going to take out the bad guys first before I try and invade Earth. Loki just shows up because he is ignorant enough to think that he can just do, have his plan and just do, and no unexpected things are going to happen, that his plan is foolproof to begin with.
I don't think that. I mean, I think maybe old Loki was a little more arrogant. I think he himself was a lot more strategic and deliberate about the things that he wants to do, and plays the long game. Now, I don't know why these two are fighting, right? It's just about for whatever reason they're fighting. Did Loki start it? Did Magneto start it? It could be either. I can see either way. I can see like Magneto wants to try to make some sort of move. He sees that Loki is probably a really big threat, so he instigates it. Or Loki is doing whatever Loki decides to do, and for some reason Magneto has to go. It doesn't really. I don't think that really matters, or we can't make that assumption, because then that changes the way the battle itself is. But if your army argument was they can focus on Loki, the same argument is true from the other side. They can focus on Magneto. Good luck finding Loki in an army of Asgardians, Dark Elves, Frost Giants, whatever, because he is definitely a behind the scenes. And again, you may think you know where he is, but he's not. Whereas Magneto, you want to talk about arrogance. If Magneto is leading an army, he's up front. Like he is, I am leading this. This is me. I am the leader of X-Men, Brotherhood, whatever. He's going to be forefront leading the charge.
Because he has the power to back it up.
Is behind the scenes. I've manipulated this army to go after them. You will not see me. You will not know where I'm at. I will be on another plane of existence while I have set things in motion. So let him fight it out.
That only proves he's not as powerful as he says he is. Because if you're truly that powerful, you have the brains and the power, he could actually be there.
That just proves that he doesn't like getting his hands dirty if he doesn't have to. It doesn't mean that he can't. That is a false argument.
I doubt that. All right. Well, we're arguing in circles here at this point here. So unless you have anything further points you want to bring up here, we'll go ahead and wrap it up into closing statements, and we'll let the chat and the voting link that has been active for a while decide who the winner is. So.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't have much else to say. And Magneto, again, as far as mutants go, Omega level, very, very powerful. He doesn't have resistances to magic, whether they be forceful magic that actually do things, whether they be illusory magic. He doesn't even know where to aim. And if he thinks he knows where he's aiming, he's wrong. He can't hit him. And even if he does, the odds that it would actually kill Loki are very, very low, because he is nigh indestructible. He's had his head cut off and put it back on. What's a bunch of scrap metal going to do? I don't know. Also, as mentioned before, Loki doesn't even need to be there to be slinging spells and casting illusions and all kinds of stuff. And if you want to bring in the other people, you want to bring in the armies, by all means, go ahead. The armies of the other 8 realms will easily smite Magneto, who is at the forefront, and the rest of them. Maybe in the end, the overall war will be the mutants standing victorious, but Magneto will be dead, because that will be the main target, and Loki will be in the background, never even showing his face.
Awesome. Well, my closing statement is that like I said, if Magneto visits as a threat, he will bring at least a few psychics with him. You got Wanda as well. You got other people who have magic. He can figure out quickly if Loki is there or not. And between that and their Krakoa and Gates can meet up with Loki and find him there. And plus, like I said, his metal, unless Loki specifically knows, I'm going to fight Magneto, and I'm going to make sure I wear nothing but cloth and plastic and whatever. There's metal on everything. If he's wearing a watch, you got a piece of metal that all of a sudden is now a projectile weapon. And even if that's not the case, unless his Asgardian makeup is 100% different, you got the metal in our bodies itself that make us up who we are. Magneto in the one movie when he was in jail extracted the metal from that guard. Why can't? And in the comic books recently here, he kept his own blood pumping until the fight was over and they had defeated their enemy. Why can't Magneto just focus on Loki, and then all of a sudden you got the blood pulled out of Loki or is torn to shreds because he controlled the metal inside Loki? After all, this is the Master of Magnetism. There's metal everywhere in the earth itself. I doubt Loki can beat a planet if a planet is trying to swallow him whole. So I believe that Magneto here is more cunning. Loki might be slightly more powerful in some regards, and he might be crazy clever, God of Mischief and magic. But even magic has its limitations. It is not all powerful. It will fall to some things or falter to some things, and a more cunning, strategic mind, longer view of the fight than Loki is. Magneto is that guy, and he will not attack Loki unless he's 100% sure that he can at least force Loki to flee, if not outright win the fight. And that's my closing statement here. So we'll give it a few more minutes here. Links in the chat, guys. Vote, and we'll see which one, Loki or Magneto, goes forward to round 2 to face off against the winner of. Well, actually, that's a little harder to say. I'll bring up while we're waiting on that. We'll bring this up here because Loki is not. If Loki wins, he would be here to where he would. It's when you can face one of 4 people: Doctor Doom, Magneto, or Loki will face either Doctor Doom, Apocalypse, Ultron, or Mr. Freeze. Because Loki and Magneto are both in the shorter bracket here, that he automatically moves into the quarterfinals or semifinals because of how it was set up. So a lot of fun here. So cannot wait to see how it ends. So get those votes in. So I personally think if Loki moves forward, I'd love to see a Loki versus Doctor Doom fight. That's how I see this ending up, honestly. I see Doom.
Yeah, any of those, Loki or Magneto versus Doctor Doom or Apocalypse, would be fun.
Yeah, I see. If I had to project, and if I was a gambling person, I would bet Doctor Doom makes his way to the finale here, and so Loki and Doctor Doom, not a mutant, but Doctor Doom is someone who definitely has a way to counter magic because he also has magic himself in that scenario. Then so. It's a little less of an argument there. All right.
Yeah, Doctor Doom's tough. He's got a time platform too. So
yeah, there you go. All I have to do is in his Doombot, an army of Doombots, which is in the scenario 2. All right, let's bring up. Where is it? All right, here we go. The voting is in because we have 11 more minutes, but unless the vote actually happen, unless more votes actually happen here, let's get it in. All right. The results for Loki versus Magneto are Loki wins with 8 votes to Magneto's 5. So Loki advances to the next round.
My boy.
So good job, Loki. Congratulations, Titan. And again, you're facing either Doom, Apocalypse, Ultron, or Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze being the dark horse.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze is going to have a tough time.
Well, Legion of Comics shows up here and brings his DC base, You
Yeah.
never know. That's
I
after
mean,
all.
that's true.
That's how Mr. Freeze beat Dormammu.
I mean, Mr. Freeze is powerful. I think he is underrated in his power. But against some of these other heavy hitters, that's tough.
Yeah, so I apologize, Southern Comic Geek. I'm sure you did a much better fight than me. I let you down. I
Oh, no,
apologize.
I think you did a really good, like, that's a tough battle. And like
Well,
anybody against Loki is a tough battle. I think you held your own. You did good.
well, felt it, especially since I didn't do. I I was too busy. I was too busy. I didn't have time to do a lot more preparing. Otherwise, I would have tried to game the scenario. Nope, I missed a freeze. I think I'm going to lose. I missed a freeze. Don't know. Like I said, Legion. Like I said, Legion of Comics shows up. He brings his DC fan base, you know, and then suddenly got Mr. Freeze beating Doctor Doom. But like I said, next roundup is what was it? Next roundup, episode 14 is Doctor Doom versus Apocalypse. So I want to continue it in order, but if I'm trying to get these out before if I'm trying to get these out before I go into basic training in the army here, I might just have to skip that one if I don't get some responses from one of the contestants here. So it's trying to get this season wrapped up so I don't have to leave it in limbo while I'm in basic training and officer training school for the army.
Yeah, you can't leave us hanging. We have to know who wins.
No, I don't know, Warlord. Like I said, you just talk to Legion. He got you through last time. So, all right. Well, take care, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe to my channel. Oh, before I let you guys go, for those of you listening on the podcast and currently watching on Facebook here, I am less than 50 subscribers away from 1,000 after 5 years on YouTube making videos. I am very excited. And I'm currently giving away this Fantastic Four, number 49, first full appearance of Galactus, second appearance of Silver Surfer, first time they're both on the cover. If you want a chance to win this book, so go visit me on YouTube, youtube.com/MrComics89. The link, the video for the contest is right there. You just follow the rules, sub me up, and you can win this nice key for a comic book. So, yep, that's the king. So if you want, just sub me up. The quicker I get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker we give that book away. So don't miss out on your chance to win it. So take care, everyone. I'll see you guys next time on the Knockout. Thank you, Titan, for joining in, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
Talk to you later, guys.